Thought I'd try something new today. I'll be talking about One Battle After Another, Tron Ares, and Pokémon Legends Z-A. I'll just be giving my thoughts on the three of them, and don't worry, I won't be spoiling them. I'll also be leaving timestamps in the description, so if there's only one you're interested in, you can just jump straight ahead. So last month, I saw One Battle After Another, and it was pretty fantastic. You're probably more than aware of this film since it released last month, and it just recently was released digitally, so now my entire Twitter feed is once again filled with people praising pretty much every aspect of it. Now, as I said before, I won't be talking about any spoilers, but I also don't want to rob anyone of a surprise first watch if you don't know much about the film. So I'll say come back after watching it. I don't think it's a film for everyone, but if you do love film and cinema, you'd be doing a disservice by not watching it. Something that astounds me about One Battle After Another is just how well balanced the tone of the film is. There are moments of disturbingly real events or these uncomfortable conversations, yet the film is consistently so funny. Any scene where Bob Ferguson, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, is losing his sanity while on the phone is just already screenwriting gold. But contrast that with Sensei Sergio, played by Benicio del Toro, just being as cool as a cucumber while trying to help him deal with the most stressful situation imaginable is just so hysterical to watch. That and everything Lockjaw, played by Sean Penn, does in this film, the way that he talks to people is just so woefully comedic. Something that I've seen so many people take away from this film is just the incredible cast. Leonardo DiCaprio fumbles his way onto the screen and delivers a performance of panicked chaos as he becomes desperate to save his daughter. Chase Infinity makes a debut so strong, it's as if she's been acting her whole life. Benicio del Toro is here for just 18 minutes, but leaves such a loving impact in your heart that I sort of cheered on the inside whenever he appeared. Sean Penn plays the hilarious and utterly pathetic villain Lockjaw, driven by lust and this mundane idea of reaching an ideal way of life by joining a group of misogynistic racists and aiming for a life so mundane it's almost sad. Contrast that with the main cast, who, while don't have the wealth, they have each other. They can trust each other, yet Lockjaw is driven by his blinding ambitions, failing to see the true enemy that should be painfully obvious. I'm fully expecting to see this film pop up for award season because even beyond acting and writing categories, this film is just incredibly well shot. Several images have remained in my head over a month after seeing them, and one chase scene in particular, I've seen several online collectively agree that it's become an iconic scene from this year in film. It's not only visually unique and creative, but it ties back into those themes of blinding ambition I mentioned previously. Absolutely check out One Battle After Another if you haven't. I will be watching more Paul Thomas Anderson films in the future, as this was admittedly my first. And I hope to see DiCaprio, Penn and Del Toro at least get some Oscar nominations, and I hope that you'll watch this film now that it's out on streaming.
God damn it! Viva la revolution!
The same day that I saw One Battle After Another, I also saw Tron Ares, and Christ, did the whiplash go crazy. I'll preface this by saying that I haven't seen a Tron film before watching this, and I went into it knowing very little about the series. All I knew is that it took place inside a game, there's cool motorbikes, and that's really it. Tron is one of those series that I'm sure tons of people are aware of, but many just haven't seen. It's always been kind of niche in my eyes, and maybe everyone else's too, as Tron's never really been a box office hit.
Did anyone see the movie Tron?
No.
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 No. Yes. I mean, no. No.
The second film did respectable numbers, but it's never really been the next huge franchise like Disney have been hoping for. It's ironic in a way because I am aware that with Tron Legacy they were kind of hoping it would be the next Star Wars in a sense. They then proceeded to buy Star Wars and run it into the ground, so now we've sort of gone back full circle into trying to make Tron a thing again. And from what I can gather, it's done even worse. I feel bad for Tron fans watching this, not just because the film didn't do very well, but in my opinion, I don't think this is a very good film. Now, I'd much rather spend my time talking about films that I enjoy and that I think are worth seeing, as I feel like there's so much negativity on the internet. I'd rather keep things a bit more positive, especially when talking about art and how troublesome it is to get a film into production these days. So I hope that with this I can remain respectful to the filmmaking experience, and there's undeniably a lot of effort and passion that's been poured into this film. The soundtrack by Nine Inch Nails, which, while is not the sort of music I tend to listen to, is absolutely solid stuff, and it gives the film a unique soundscape, and it establishes a strong identity for the series that I know it's become synonymous with. It's also very visually pretty at times. Striking digital landscapes, eye-catching vehicle and technology design, it gives the film a memorable look that I wish I got to see more of. Yeah, sorry, that's where the positives end for me here. The real problem I have with this film is the script. I don't want to be mean to the writers, especially during a time where AI is a genuine threat to replacing human creativity, but good God, this is not how people have conversations. All of the dialogue is just painfully generic, and the chemistry between the characters just feels incredibly forced. It feels like I'm watching a first draft for a very necessary rewrite. It's just incredibly safe, and it's uninteresting to watch. Between the forced banter between side characters and all of the flat techno talk, I was honestly quite bored numerous times during the story. I just never really cared about what was happening, and I was just kind of hoping that the visuals would hook me into the film, but we barely get much of the world in this game at all, which left me feeling pretty underwhelmed. I was also just left a little bit lost on what this world even is. Like I said, I know it takes place in a game, but I wasn't really seeing anything gamey about it, aside from it just taking place inside of a computer. I was sort of interested in how this world would be introduced to me, and it felt like the people behind the film just assumed that I was already familiar with the other films in the series, and so I just felt even more confused after leaving the cinema. I suppose I should probably talk about the elephant in the room, and I'll end the film on easily the most baffling thing about it. Jared Leto as the lead. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I've seen enough of Leto's filmography to judge his acting career as a whole. I avoided Suicide Squad for obvious reasons, and he did win an Oscar in his performance in Dallas Buyers Club, so maybe he has potential in some roles, but ignoring all that, and all of that, in what universe would you create a new film in a niche series that has historically never performed very well or even really been received that well by general audiences, and you would cast Jared Leto as the star of your film? I don't know if executives are aware of this. People do not like Jared Leto. He was the face of Morbius, the film the internet tricked its studio into re-releasing, where it performed horrendously. He's the face of what is, in many people's eyes, the worst iteration of the Joker. With the films that I've seen him in, like American Psycho and Blade Runner, I just forget he's even in those, as the rest of the cast just knocks it out the park, while he's just there. And at worst, he's just dull to watch. I've seen some people claim that his performance was fine as Ares, since he's supposed to not be very emotional. He's playing an AI after all. He's slowly understanding humanity as well as what he can become. My problem is that I can't see Ares the character, all I can see is Jared Leto. It's almost identical to how he played Morbius. Monotone, mundane, and lacking in any sort of intrigue. That's sadly how I'd sum up Tron Ares. I do feel bad for fans because, as is sort of typical with studios, they're going to be taking away the wrong lessons from this film. So we probably won't be seeing anything Tron related for a while. That being said, I do want to check out the other Tron films, but from what I've seen of Tron Ares, it's not been a pleasant start.
And if he is struck down on the battlefield.
So finally, I'll be sharing my lengthy thoughts on Pokémon Legends Z-A. I've been a Pokémon fan for as long as I can remember. Even before I got and played Pokemon Y on my 10th birthday, I was already obsessed with watching the show and collecting and trading cards with friends at school. So naturally, I was very excited for this new game, doubly because it was a Legends game, Legends Arceus being one of my favourite games in the series, and even more so because it was releasing on the fancy new Nintendo Switch 2, which I was already intending on getting day one, with several games that I was looking forward to. And I'm happy to report that my excitement for this game paid off massively. I'll say the game gets off to a bit of a slow start, which is typical for modern Pokemon, but even I was getting a little bit annoyed with some of the hand-holding and the frequency of dialogue sequences that kept me from exploring the city of Lumiose. But when I was set free to explore, I had a great time. It was quite surreal getting to experience such a memorable location from a game I loved in my childhood, and in such a refreshing way. Lumiose was already a fun place to delve into in X and Y, but now there's more to do than ever with new wild zones and the Z-A Royale. Catching Pokemon is just as satisfying as it was in Legends Arceus, with the selection, while not as big as prior games on the Switch, there's still a good variety to pick from, with many new Mega Evolutions to look forward to finding. Some of which, I have to say, are some of the best designs we've seen yet. I'm glad that we're now able to use Megas in a playthrough, as X and Y handled them in a bit of a weird way, with most of them being unobtainable until the post-game, and I believe Aurus did it similarly, but I haven't played those games in a long time. Not only can Mega Stones be found easily in a playthrough, but you also face so many Mega Pokemon that they're basically required. In X and Y there were only like 3 other trainers who used Mega Pokemon, so they just felt like they were thrown in there at the last second, despite them being a major focus of that generation. In Z-A, they're the very identity of the game, and they feel so much more well balanced as well, thanks to being on a timer that'll train slowly, as I felt like Megas in X and Y just sort of acted as this automatic win button. I could really appreciate the scale of the city, from playing on my 240p 3DS to now my 4K monitor display. I got fully immersed in this cheerful city. I know that the visuals of Z-A are a very contentious point of discussion online, with some feeling as if they ruin the game for them. I didn't feel that way at all. Personally, I never cared that the textures aren't the highest resolution, or that most of the buildings are just flat, because none of that impacted my gameplay experience, as the game on Switch 2 runs at a consistent 60 frames per second, and if there were frame drops, I didn't notice them. I'm just relieved that Pokemon is performing this well visually. I'll always remember the horrendous state in which Scarlet and Violet were released, and while I still enjoyed the games, it prevented me from recommending the games to anyone, and it was even the reason why I didn't finish the DLC until the Switch 2 updates were released, and they finally gave them a very long overdue performance boost. So now I feel like I can recommend Scarlet and Violet to anyone, so long as they have a Switch 2. Something I was very excited to try was the new combat system, where every action is done in real time, and even though I was looking forward to trying it, I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed battling in this game. The real-time commands give combat an exciting sense of urgency, and it's the closest I feel that we'll get to Pokemon battling like the anime, which has sort of felt like a bit of a dream come true for younger me. It's also surprisingly quite challenging at times, much like Legends Arceus, but again it's all in real time. Battling a challenging trainer has never been more exciting or tense, as I found multiple battles where I was close to losing my whole team, which was a really refreshing challenge. Competing in the nighttime Z-A Royale was a blast. Taking on trainers to build up points for a promotion match to climb the ranks from Z to A was a lot of fun. I just love the addition of being able to sneak up on trainers and attack their Pokemon immediately when starting a battle. And the extra challenges you can do on the side for more points and money help to keep it from getting too monotonous. And you can make a lot of money from doing these, so I'd say battle as many trainers as you can early on, as you'll likely want to have some cash to spend on outfits for your avatar, of which there's a good selection, and they're no longer separated by gender, which is a nice inclusion to not lock clothing options away from players. I do just wish we could take off these kinda ugly jackets from these hoodies. I wear hoodies like these in real life, I don't want to wear these weird jackets on top of them. The story itself isn't incredible, but the writing as a whole is really solid. Pokemon stories were just sort of fine for a long time, or just ended up being very mediocre, until Scarlet and Violet really nailed character interactions, and had some genuinely great arcs, with memorable moments. I'm glad to say that ZA continues with that, as there's a lot of likeable characters, as well as a few moments that genuinely got a laugh from me. It even manages to redeem a few elements introduced in X and Y. My favourite characters include Leader, Ivan, Corbeau, Jacinthe, and one more who I won't mention here, but if you've played the game, you know exactly who I'm talking about. My favourite, of course, though, has to be AZ, who's now one of my favourite characters in this entire series. X and Y really didn't do anything with him, as he was introduced way too late in the game. But now ZA forges probably the most bittersweet storyline I've ever seen from Pokemon, and I won't lie, it almost got me tearing up by the end, which sounds silly out of context, but again, if you played it, you know exactly which scene I'm talking about, and there's a reason why I've seen multiple streamers playing this that tear up at this game's ending. While I won't spoil the endgame, I'll say that it did not go in the direction I ever would have expected it to, which I actually felt with Scarlet and Violet as well, but now it's on an even grander scale. If there's something that everyone agrees on that these games nail, it's the endgame battles. Also the music. All in all, this is some of the most fun I've had playing a new game since Tears of the Kingdom in 2023, and I'm really looking forward to the DLC next month. It's an easy recommendation if you're interested in trying the game, and while the Switch 1 version isn't as optimised, I haven't heard anything terrible about that version, so by the sounds of it, it's not a horribly compromised version of the game. It's in contention with being my favourite game this year so far, alongside another game that I might talk about later. Although I haven't played Hades 2 or Metroid Prime 4 yet, so it might be too early to say. Finally, I'll end this video with the team that I played through the game with, along with their nicknames and origins. For my starter, I of course went with Tepig, who evolves into Emvor. This guy was my first Pokemon ever, and has always had a soft spot in my heart. But I wasn't expecting it to be female, so I named her Ardy after the Gerudo sage from Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Age of Imprisonment. I caught a Sableye from an early side quest and named him Lugosi after actor Bela Lugosi. I caught a shiny Mareep from another side quest and evolved it into Ampharos and named him Winslow after this quote from the Robert Eggers film The Lighthouse.
Let Neptune strike ye dead, Winslow!
The first male Ralts that I found happened to be an alpha so that I could use a Gallade on my team. Gallade is my favourite Pokemon ever, so I had to catch it and finally use its Mega in a playthrough, as Ores let me down over a decade ago. I named him Gamma after the Gamma androids from Dragon Ball Super Superhero, which of course is my favourite film. I also had an Excadrill named Galliard from Attack on Titan, and finally a Gyarados named Torumbo, also from Dragon Ball Super. So that's where this video ends. I realised I hadn't uploaded in ages, and I just wanted to get something out there to push myself into making more videos, so here's something a bit shorter than before.